welcome along. It's great to see the interest from the community and such a crowd along tonight. Makes us feel good that people are interested in what's happening in their municipality. Thank you very much. And I just noticed that apart from everyone special here tonight, I'd just like a special welcome to Anita Dow, Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Welcome along, Anita, and you and everyone else in the gallery. Thank you for coming. I declare the meeting open at about 5:34, the AGM. Okay, and I'd just like to advise the public that the council policy to record and live stream the proceedings of the meetings of council on digital media to assist in the preparation of minutes and to assure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussion of the meetings is available. This recording is authorised by the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015. Those present in councillors, there's only one absent, Councillor Fairbrother. I'd like to list everyone else as attending. No apologies. Acknowledgement of Country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which we meet here today, the Tumajina people, and to pay our respect to those that have passed before us, their history and their culture. The AGM statutory requirements, I'll hand over to our General Manager to read those requirements out. Mr GM.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just very briefly for everyone that's here tonight, so you're aware, a council must hold an annual general meeting every year. We must hold it before the 15th of December in each year. We must publish in the newspaper that we're having the AGM. So for us, we advertise on the 16th of October and on the 23rd of October, and we also advertised and promoted the AGM through social media channels. In relation to a quorum of council, there's some rules around that which won't be an issue for us tonight, as right at this minute we have all councillors present. So only electors in the municipal area are entitled to vote at the annual general meeting. So when we move to our section on the agenda where we have notices of motion, of which we've got 3 tonight, anyone who's an elector may vote. So you've indicated that on the form as you've come in tonight. So we have, according to this form, 25 eligible members of the public here that can vote, and also our councillors are able to do so as well. So a motion at an annual general meeting is passed by a majority of votes taken by show of hands or by any other means as the chairperson determines. And should a motion pass tonight, it will go to the November council meeting for consideration. So we'll prepare a report based on the motion that goes through tonight, and it will go to the November council meeting for consideration. And the only other ruling is that the General Manager is to keep minutes of the annual general meeting, which we will do. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr GM. We'll now move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the confirmation of the minutes of our previous AGM. Do I have a mover and a seconder for those, please?
So moved, Mayor Walsh.
Deputy Mayor Dunyan moved.
Yes, second that, Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor Bramish. Any corrections to the minutes are to be identified and agreed at this point prior to taking a vote to adopt the minutes. Are there any corrections, councillors? No corrections. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Annual report, public submissions. There were no submissions received at the time of the agenda compilation. Mr GM, over to you, the annual report 2021. Over to you, Mr GM.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr Mayor. So just prior to moving this particular motion on the annual report and getting a mover and seconder, I thought I might indulge for a second and just work through a couple of points. I've only got 7 of them, so that everyone's aware, and I'll just touch on these points very briefly before Mrs Searle just talks through the financial results briefly for everyone in attendance. But to cover off on those points, continuation of delivery phase. So we speak a lot here at Council that Council has moved out of what we call a planning phase and a strategising phase and into delivery. So on that basis, we've had another year of high capital spend, of high activity, and we continue to progress a whole range of strategies that we have in place. So whether that be the open space sport and recreation plan, whether that be we're almost finalised the waterfront projects, whether it be our integrated community environmental plan, the Cam River, all of those sorts of strategies are starting to get real progress now, which is great to see. And the financial management strategy that Council has adopted certainly outlines that we will have a high spend in capital for many years to come. In fact, it's the total was up between $50 and $60 million worth of expenditure in that space over the next 10 years. So a heightened period of capital spend. We have strong development activity, and our numbers suggest that there is quite a bit of activity in the Waratah Wynyard municipality. Our building approvals, and if I can refer to my notes here, we're at 217 for the year. That's up from 146 from the previous year. And in 17-18 we had 86. So you can see the growth in building approvals over the last few years. The value of those building approvals was in that vicinity of $43 million. Again, up from $30 million last year and $18 million the year before. So again, people can see that growth. And planning approvals are up 56%. So there is, again, another factor to show that things are moving in Waratah Wynyard. Also, we're seeing a lot of land being released, a lot of subdivision activity, whether it be inquiries or of those particular approvals coming before council. And fortunately, we are seeing full shop fronts in the majority of our CBD areas across the municipality, which is pleasing. Clearly, we face some challenges in construction delivery. So the costs of delivering these particular projects that I speak of is certainly going up considerably and continues to do so, and we've seen enormous increases in our expenditure in that regard. And equally, time of delivery is becoming a real challenge for us. So being able to attract contractors, being able to attract tenderers is a real challenge for us. We'll continue to work on that. Equally, attracting staff at times can become challenging for us at a council when the private sector is offering much higher wages than potentially what we do at times. So all of those are challenges for us and impact our capital delivery and things that we continue to focus and work through. I did want to talk to the flexibility and adaptability due to COVID. We started this financial year, again facing some challenges from COVID, and for us that means a whole range of challenges and COVID plans for facilities, a considerable number of facilities that councils own, and the work that we needed to do to make sure they were open and compliant. We saw considerable impact at places like the Wonders of Wynyard and our childcare facilities due to COVID regulations. But we've managed to work through all of those, and I think council should be commended in this respect. And I use the Tulip Festival as an example. It would have been quite easy for council to cancel the Tulip Festival in its entirety, and a lot of other events that you see throughout the state. That's exactly what has happened. The events have been cancelled. Unfortunately, we couldn't go ahead with the Tulip Festival in its normal format, but council were able to adapt, show some flexibility, and present a spring-loaded program across a month, and highly successful, and I think was a credit to the council for doing and taking that leadership. I did want to mention the significant focus on the environment that the council has had in the last 12 months, and we continue to show environmental leadership. We were awarded some awards through local government professionals back in June for the Environmental Leadership Sustainability Award, and I'd encourage everyone here to have a look at the council report from a couple of months ago, which outlined the significant activity this council has taken in relation to the environment over the past 12 months. We've got a lot of work to do, and we'll continue to focus on that, but I think we've made some really good strides in that regard. Equally, community engagement. We don't always get that right, and we certainly have some continue to work and focus in this particular area. But if you look from where we've come from a few years ago to now, there is significant improvement. And again, this council will manage to be recognised for its work in the community engagement space by picking up an award for its community engagement strategy throughout the year, which is very pleasing to see. we've invested some more resource in this area, we've taken some steps to improve in this area, and hopefully that's starting to pay dividends. In the financial space, just finally, again, I think this council should be really proud of its financial performance, not just this year, but over a number of years now. Whilst other councils are struggling and finding some challenges in this space, this council continues to show financial sustainability, and we have a strong and sustainable position, which is really pleasing. So I'd hand over now to Sam just to further outline, I guess, some of that financial sustainability.
Thank you, Mr. GM. Over to you, Mrs. Searle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a couple of points that I'd like to make in relation to Council's financial position and the results for last financial year. The first point that I'd like to make is that Council is in a very strong financial position at the moment. We have strong liquidity and cash flow, low debt levels, assets in good condition, and an ability to fund our asset renewals as they become due. So Council's operating position has improved significantly in recent years and is now at a sustainable level. The underlying surplus for the year, it's pleasing to report that Council recorded an underlying surplus of $53,000, which is not much above break even. For the year ended 30 June 21, that's compared to an underlying deficit of $598,000. So a favourable variance to budget of $651,000. Whilst the result is favourable to budget, Council's underlying result for the year has been adversely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The main impact is a 50% reduction in the Tas Water dividend of $281,000. Council has had several unquantifiable effects on its underlying result, including providing zero increases in rates and charges, lower user fees, and increased leave expenditures. Despite these challenges, it's pleasing that Council has turned its operating financial sustainability around in recent years. Council has now had 5 years of operating surpluses following a significant period of operating deficits between 2011 and 2016. The next point I'd like to make is in relation to Council's plans for building our financial sustainability. Council's operating income and expenditures continue to be more volatile than usual, with the COVID-19 pandemic providing ongoing uncertainty. COVID-19 is a reminder that increasing extreme events can significantly impact on Council's finances, and this also covers and includes climate change. Council's financial position needs to be robust enough to recover from unanticipated events and absorb the volatility in revenues and expenditures. Council's financial management strategy contains measures to move Council from its current sustainable operating position of about break even to a small surplus margin of around 3%. So as the General Manager mentioned, Council is in the delivery phase of a range of adopted master plans and strategies. Total expenditure of around $60 million. These require capital investment of about $49 million over the next 10 years. The financial impacts of that expenditure are known and planned through Council's financial management strategy. The strategy sets the parameters of what Council can afford and guides Council budgetary decision making. The strategy does highlight the need for this Council to find operational efficiency targets of around $900,000 over the next 3 years to meet operating costs associated with the capital expenditure program. The final point I'd like to make is the continued focus of this Council on delivering affordable services to the community and its commitment to low rating per head of population. Whilst incremental rises in rates and charges in line with rising costs are essential for Council's ongoing sustainability, this Council continues to have low rating per head of population that's well below state average and neighbouring urban centres. If the parameters of the financial management strategy are followed, decisions made by this Council today will not provide any burden or surprises to the community in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Searle, for that coverage. We now move on to the annual report. Recommendation that the council note the annual report for the year ended 30th of June 2021. Would someone like to move on that, please?
Yes, Mayor Walsh, I'd like to move on that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Have a seconder, please. Councillor Fairbrother, seconded. We're now open for any discussion, any debate. Councillors, do you wish to speak on the motion?
If I may, please,
Yes.
Mayor Walsh. I just want to comment on one exciting development that has been mentioned in this annual report, and that is the Anzac Park All Ability Playground, which has been around 8 years in coming to this point. Should be starting next month, which is really, really exciting. And as someone said to me in Somerset the other day, it's about time. So I'm very grateful for this council for the work that they have put into this playground, having worked with the fairy godmothers, and I think it's going to be an amazing playground and facility for anyone of all ability.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dunyam. Any further speakers? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out on page 32 how CANTS was forward planning our future workforce strength of 20 employees undertaking training to strategise and manage our workforce with 50% of existing people who will retire or transition over the next 10 years.
Great. Thank you. Any further speakers? No further speakers? Yeah, Councillor Bramish.
Bit slow here.
You're right. Over to you.
Yeah, there's something I'd like to comment on, and it's probably only very simple compared to the work we've got, is the plaza we've got in between Noah's and French Sticks. I believe that's a real asset to our town, and the people that get in there and have a snack in under that cover and the toilets there, you know, it's a real honour to be a part of that town, to see something like that, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Bramish. Any further speakers? Councillor Highland.
Yeah, I'd just like to highlight one of the very positive things that have happened in the Waratah Community Board that's been established over the last 3 years. It was Waratah were having a few issues with town people, as you do, a few factions, and so the council decided that we would formulate a community board. They brought in a consultant and had a community meeting, and out of that the community set 3 priorities for the board. The first one was the walk down to the waterfall. The second was a community facilitator, and the third was do something with the old historic rail bridge. We called nominations for the board, and we ended up with 5 members, I think 5 members on the board. We lost one early. Well, we had 6, but we ended up with 5. Now, we had a meeting every couple of months to work through all these issues, and this year, just now, we're coming to the end of that 3-year period. But what we've achieved on the way through, the historic rail bridge, we've sourced 300k roundabout for that project. We're at the stage, we've got the money from the state government. We're about to go out to tender, I believe, to have a platform built alongside the bridge on the southern side so that people can now access that area and view the structure of the bridge, and there'll be history all about what it was about when the tin was being sourced from the mountain. The community facilitator has been filled, and with that, council is operating a community hub out of there. There's a group that's doing fresh food parcels and all sorts of things to the needy in that community. Now the walk down to the waterfall. We have done all the groundwork on that project as well. It's a $3.1 million project, obviously in a couple of stages, A and B. So we're sort of shovel ready, but we need to go out now to, obviously the federal election will be a start, but see if we can now source funding for that project as well. So there's been a lot of work achieved by the board in that 3 years. A lot of the credit needs to go to our director, Tracy Bradley, who's taken that on with her staff. It's the first type of a community board across all Australian councils, and Tracy has presented at a couple of local government forums and has been asked to provide some information on what this community board's all about. So it's another first for the Waratah Wynyard Council, and we're now going through that process now with another facilitator, another public meeting, and we'll be set 3 more priority projects. So congratulations to all those that took part of it, and it's certainly another great highlight of the Waratah Wynyard Council.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Any further speakers? Councillor Courtney.
I'm actually just going to take a moment not to acknowledge all the assets that we're building in the area, which is, you know, playgrounds. We've got work at Sisters Beach, work at Boat Harbour, work at Waratah, work in Somerset. We've got things going all over our municipality. I'd actually like to just take a moment to thank the General Manager, because the General Manager and the staff, the management, the staff out on the floor, the staff out in the gangs, COVID hit and we have neighbouring councils that are in debt and we've come out ahead. We've got more infrastructure projects and we've still come out ahead. We've had, from everything I've heard, a very happy workforce that's adapted really well when they've been asked to, and I think that's a commendation to our General Manager. So thank you very much for what you've done to support us, to help us support our community.
Hear you. Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any further speakers? I'd just like to say I have a small say. I don't want to bore people for too long, but it goes like this. I'm very proud to be associated with the arrangement we've got here at the Waratah Wynyard. I'd like to recognise the efforts of the management staff, inside staff and the outside workforce. I think it gives me great pleasure to when there's a problem out there and it's not all straight sailing always, to be able to come into the management and get an appointment with someone that's got a problem and have a very acceptable response to the problem, and it's 99.9% of the times it's solved to the satisfaction of the person that's got the problem, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate the effort put in by our outside crew. You take Waratah, Sisters Beach, Boat Harbour, Somerset, those outlying areas, and in particular our Parks and Reserves crew. Yeah, the effort that they put in, and the comment that, you know, I get around a little bit from here to there in different towns and that, and visitors to the town, they say, gee Robbie, Wynyard looks beautiful, Waratah looks lovely, Boat Harbour Beach is magnificent, it's a beautiful, you know, all these compliments that come, and it's all due to the fact I get the compliments. The workers don't hear that so much, but and the effort in the main street of Wynyard at Tulip Festival time, things like that. It's something to be proud to be associated with, and you know, it's pretty good. There's times when things could have went the other way. I recall a couple of years ago, the staff suggested when we couldn't have the Tulip Festival that they come up with this spring-loaded program. And I remember sitting here at a workshop and having it presented to us, and I just thought to myself, is it worth the effort? You know, and they had their heart in that program, and they came up the first year with a great program, and I just thought, well, I was greatly mistaken. And then again this year provided the same entertainment for a month-long period, and so good. But there's a couple of other things too. I think a few decisions we made coming into COVID. One was to abolish tip fees, and I think that was our big step for us to look after the environment. I have put in a lot of time in the surrounding bush around the municipality in various areas, and to see the difference in what's being dumped in our plantations and our native bush is a big difference. What's there is gone stale. There's very little fresh material being dumped, and the compliments that come from people going to the tip free of charge. I know it's paid for somewhere along the line. There's a fee there. There's a cost there that's got to be covered, but it's a nice feeling to be able to go to the tip for free. Yeah, I guess I've said enough. To come in with a financial bottom line like we have is a credit to our management, and thank you very much for that. I think I'll close at that. Thank you. And it's pleasant to see so many people here tonight with an interest in our community. Thank you. Councillor Fairbrother, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, I do, Mayor. Firstly, I must apologise for my lateness. I never thought I'd ever have to apologise for being late at a council meeting, giving a reason because of traffic lights. Oh, you got to be joking. They went for about 10 minutes on red. Mr. Mayor, speaking in support of the annual report, I guess it is pleasing to see so many here tonight, and thank you all for coming along for whatever reasons has motivated you to be here. Thank you. It's probably fairly ordinary for councillors to spruik how good we've been doing local government in your annual report. Usually it's not even good bedtime reading for most, but this document to me is, because you can go through the table of contents and line by line you think, because I guess it'd be fair to say, and I know my fellow councillors know that most of us critically analyse a lot of the things that we do. Not only as councillors, some of the community also analyse what we do, and quite often we get feedback on what we do. Tonight, if anybody takes the time to go through our annual report line by line, especially the headings, it's like, how can we do local government better, is the question that I ask myself. And I say, and perhaps I am biased because I'm a councillor on the council, but I don't know that anyone can do local government better than what we do at Waratah Wynyard Council. I say that we're about providing value for money for our ratepayers' funds, which I think is highlighted in here. If anyone was ever going to recommend to another local government organisation how you do local government well, I'd give them a copy of the annual report. Because it highlights much of what we've heard from our staff at the top table, and I think it's perhaps been succinctly summarised by Councillor Courtney, the reasons why we do a lot of the things we do well. We choose here at Council to adopt a saying that, and it's seen around town on all of our signs, we subscribe to the fact that we have abundance or diversity in abundance, or is it we have abundance in diversity? I think it can be said either way, and it's still correct. If I was to point out, and the annual report is a reflection on what we've done in the last 12 months, if I was to pick, somebody asked me what is my highlight for the last 12 months. Maybe it's the most recent thing I've seen on social media where a councillor of a neighbouring council was saying, I've just put to our council that we need to paint a structure on the foreshore. Some smart aleck Wynyard person, I reckon, went and put a post up and said, hey, we want to improve Burnie, why don't you go and have a talk to Waratah Wynyard Council? Because if you come over to Wynyard and have a look around our town, things are so well kept, well maintained, and you could take a leaf out of their book, how they do local government. And it was acknowledged by the person who's a councillor of a neighbouring council. He acknowledged the fact that we are doing things not too bad. And I thought, well, that's about the best backhanded compliment one could get. And it acknowledges most of the work, or all of the work, which is articulated in this document. For me, that was the highlight of the year. is somebody out in the public expressing their gratitude, albeit indirectly, for the work that we do at council on behalf of the community, and that is something which I commend to the council, the annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fairbrother. I guess everyone's had a speak, and do you, Deputy Mayor Dunyan, wish to close the debate, or have we said it all?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I thank the councillors for their comments. I think that it reflects exactly how things are at this council and the good work that everyone has undertaken, including councillors, in making those decisions. So I have nothing else to say, but ask that a vote now be taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll now put the motion. All in favour, please indicate. Please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. We now move on to 8.1 on the agenda, and it is a motion from Mr. Hutchison regarding the Aldona Reserve. Would you like to formally present that motion, Mr. Hutchison, and we'll then ask for a seconder.
Yeah, I move that motion.
You formally move?
Yep.
Mr. Hutchison? I'll second the motion. Seconding Councillor Fairbrother. Over to you.
All right. So the motion is that council plan, promote and host a public community meeting prior to December 17th, 2021 regarding a collaborative community council partnership to develop a multi-stage action plan for the Aldina Forest Reserve and picnic area. So the intent of the motion is to bring the community to the table in regards to the reserve and the picnic area. But I've got a few questions to ask the General Manager through you, Mr Mayor. So in the officer's comment, it says the Aldina Reserve remains in the ownership and management of Sustainable Timbers Tasmania, and ideas regarding the future of the site need to be directed through them. Council cannot plan for future use of a site without the permission of or involvement of the landowner. So yes or no, does Sustainable Timber Tasmania want to manage and retain ownership of the Aldina Reserve?
Mr. GM, can you handle that question?
Through Mr Mayor, to be honest, Mr Hutchinson, I'm not sure of what Sustainable Timbers' intent is in regards to future ownership or management of the land. We're all aware that obviously they've closed it now for a variety of reasons, but as to what their future intent is, I've never specifically asked that question.
Thank you. Yes or no, has Council entered into a memorandum of understanding with Sustainable Timber Tasmania in regards to this site?
Through Mr Mayor, I guess the technical answer to the question is no. There isn't a formal MOU in place. However, discussions have been ongoing with Sustainable Timbers for the past few months in terms of trying to, I guess, develop a concept plan for the site.
Thank you.
Okay, so can Council provide the public with access to a copy or outline of this plan?
Through Mr Mayor again, yes, that is the intent. It isn't quite finalised yet, Mr Hutchison. I'd expect it's only a few weeks away. There's a couple of remaining pieces of information that are required. So essentially the initial discussions were around trying to work out what the costs might be or any impediments to reopening the site. So for example, is the road, the access road from Nursery Road safe? What work needs to be done there? What would be the cost of rectification? Having an arborist look at the trees to determine whether or not the trees indeed within the reserve itself are safe. So there's a whole body of work that needs to be done and is being done to answer those questions. As I said, there's a couple yet to be answered. They're not too far away. And then, then absolutely the concept would be to put that information out to the public.
So is that work being done by Council or Sustainable Timber Tasmania?
Through Mr Mayor, a combination of both. So there's some tasks that Council are undertaking where we might have specialist knowledge, such as the road, for example, but Sustainable Timbers are certainly looking after other elements of that.
Thank you. In 2016, Council costed the initial costs and ongoing maintenance costs of the Aldina Reserve. What were the total of these costs?
Through Mr Mayor, we can source that information. I don't have that at my at my fingers at the moment, but we can certainly find that out. But I do suspect that that's probably changed. But that's certainly what we're trying to ascertain now, as I said earlier, to try and get a really clear idea of what the cost would be in today's dollars.
Thank you. Why did council undertake these costings?
Why did council undertake these costings in 2016?
Correct.
I'm not sure, to be honest, but I suspect it's. If I was to guess, I would say that it's with a similar intent to what you're raising tonight, Mr. Hutchison, to reopen the site, to explore opportunities. So I suspect that would have been the reason.
Thank you. Did Sustainable Timber Tasmania, formerly Forestry Tasmania, offer the site ownership and management to the Waratah Wynyard Council?
Through Mr. Mayor, someone other than me may need to answer that. That certainly hasn't happened in my time, but that may well have done beforehand.
Is there a response from that, Mr. Mayor?
No. To the best of my knowledge, no.
Does council have any desire to take over the ownership and management of this site?
Through Mr. Mayor, again, to make a decision, you need all the information at hand, and I guess that's certainly what needs to be found out. So that's part of the study. The council itself has not had that discussion. It would need to be treated very carefully because clearly there are costs involved, there are risks involved. So all of that information would need to be brought to the table. Similarly, we don't know Sustainable Timber's intent either, whether or not they wish to hold the asset or not, and we simply don't know the answer to that question at the moment.
Okay, thank you. So if council officers have been meeting with Sustainable Timber Tasmania to progress a concept plan, when will the community be involved in this concept plan?
Through Mr. Mayor, the intent would be not dissimilar to any other strategies, concept plans that council has, is that it would be formulated to a point and then put out for community comment and consultation. So a similar, I guess it would be envisaged that a similar process would follow.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not going to read through the background information that's in the agenda tonight, but I guess my intention of this motion is to bring the community into the discussion before all the decisions are made behind closed doors. So on the record, public discussions where everyone has the opportunity to express their frustration towards Sustainable Timber Tasmania. I guess participate in surveys of understanding the sentiment in the community, share ideas and have input into a master plan for the area, and listen to where the rest of the community wants to take this project. So no one has taken this project on board. There are plans and costings involved. What I'm asking for is council to take that forward with the community, not just on behalf of the community. So what I've heard is that vandals have ruined it and forestry were forced to close it. I've heard that council have costed $1 million in 2016 to take over the maintenance of the site, but chose not to. I've heard that forestry used their restructuring of the GBE to completely divest from their community recreation spaces. I've heard that forestry shouldn't be operating in recreation or tourism spaces. I've heard that after the 2016 downpour, Nursery Road was damaged and footbridges were damaged. I've heard that trees represent a general hazard for users. I've heard that hundreds of dollars were donated by community members towards the upkeep of the area in the past. I've heard that the place was one of fond childhood memories and social gatherings of many sorts. I've heard that many people were married here. I've heard from a broad cross-section of the community that they're utterly disgusted with what has happened to the reserve and the picnic area, and I agree with them, and enough is enough. We draw a line in the sand and we move forward. There is plenty of forward drive and motorbiking country, so those who enjoy this can always find space to do that. But the community cannot always find large open spaces that cater for families of all ages and abilities, accessible and usable for multiple purposes, and more specifically, that offer a connection to nature. The Wynyard district needs a large open space, partially vegetated with adequate amenities for use over a number of hours or days. We had that with Aldina, somewhere away from towns and villages, a retreat for relaxation and recreation. It was taken away from us due to a number of factors, and I won't go into that. And what we're saying is we want it back. The council must lead the way and mediate the community discussion and support various stakeholders and residents to have input into the direction of this space. I've got many ideas and I've shared some with councillors, and a number of people have a number of ideas as well, but at the end of the day, these ideas are one amongst many. The priority should be to do something with that space rather than throw it in the too hard basket. It is a big challenge, but I have full confidence that this community, with the full backing of council, can achieve something here. The council is very good at gaining state and federal funds. There are community groups that are very good at gaining grants for particular projects. In my assessment, getting the money will not be the issue. It is getting the plan right. Council has stated that there is work being done assessing the site. My concern is that it will be assessed as too difficult by council, and councillors will just rubber stamp and agree with that. This will not be a good outcome for the community, so I hope councillors can think about that if this motion takes the next step. So developing a solid plan may take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years or more. It's a long-term project that, in my opinion, is worth it. I ask for the support of all in this room to move this community conversation into formal dialogue between the council and the residents of this municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Hutchison. Any further speakers? Councillor Edwards.
Can I move an amendment, please?
Yes, please present your amendment if you wish.
Read it out now.
Yes, please.
Yep. To add the following words: with the full support of Sustainable Timber Tasmania, providing a concept plan has not been released by that date.
The amendment's been moved by Councillor Edwards. Seconded for
I'll
the
second that, Mr Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Dunyam, seconded. Discussion now ceases on the motion. We now discuss the amendment.
Yep.
We have the full motion now read with the amendment, please.
Yep. I can read that out. Is that all right? Yep. That council plan and host a public community meeting prior to December 17th, 2021 regarding a collaborative community council partnership to develop a multi-stage action plan for the Aldina Forest Reserve and picnic area, with the full support of Sustainable Timber Tasmania, providing a concept plan has not been released by that date.
You heard the amendment. Discussion regarding the amendment. Debate.
Yep. And can I speak to it?
Yes.
Yep. I just feel like that we cannot have a meeting without the landowner. It's like someone coming to my house and saying, we're going to build a slippery slide on your property, as an example. To move forward, I think we need to keep a good relation with Sustainable Timbers Tasmania and have them on board.
Okay, any further speakers regarding the amendment, for or against? Councillor Fairbrother.
Mayor, I do feel at a disadvantage. I haven't had time to read the amendment. We can't see it up on the screen, so it's fairly hard to digest. It's okay for Councillor Edwards has it in front of us. The normal process is to put it up on the screen, which we haven't got. I agree with the sentiments that we can't move forward without Sustainable Timbers Tasmania's consent or them joining with us in this particular project. Yeah, so reading the amendment, thank you for providing that. It does appear as though that it's critical for whether a concept plan has been released by that date. Perhaps in speaking to the motion, can I ask a question? Is providing a concept plan by the date of December, is that practicable?
Mr GM, can you handle that one, please?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I guess my interpretation, just hearing those words from Councillor Edwards, are that should a concept plan be finalised and be released and open to the public, that is perfectly fine. There may not be the need for the meeting as suggested, but however, should the concept plan not be prepared and released as council has indicated, then this meeting must proceed. I guess that's how I probably interpret it. If it says providing can't recall the wording. I'll try and
Providing a concept plan has not been released by that date,
by this date.
but with the full support of Sustainable Timber.
Yeah, so I take that to read that if a concept plan has been released, then perhaps the public meeting may not be necessary. But if it hasn't been, then the meeting should be coordinated. So I think it provides an alternative and some security or surety that one way or the other something will happen by that date.
Thank you, Mr. GM. Any further speakers?
Oh, just a question, Mr. Mayor. In going down that path, probably directed to you, Mr. GM, is that going to sort of put any pressure on Sustainable Timbers at all? In the event that there still might be some issues that are unresolved, and if we put them on a timeline, they might tend to walk away, whereas a little bit more time to work through a few issues may get everyone across the line and achieve what we all want to achieve. That's just my concern.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a fair point. But my read on the situation is that all of the outstanding matters that we're waiting for information on should be relatively short turnarounds. Should be. As I said, they are with Sustainable Timbers. They're in their hands, a couple of things that we're waiting on. But timing shouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. GM. Any further speakers? Any further questions? Okay.
I've got a question, Mayor.
Okay.
I don't know whether anyone in the gallery other than Mr. Hutchison would like to take advantage of the opportunity to speak to the motion.
I'm sure they're aware of that opportunity.
I'll say something.
Okay, you're welcome.
Look, I don't really know how these things work and the wording and everything, but what Cody said, just as one member from the community, I can say this in confidence that there are many people that are really interested in the development of Aldina, and many people that want it back in the community hands and want to be involved in that process of development. And there's a lot of great community groups and people that are willing to step up and work with council if you'll work with us. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, any further speakers for the amendment?
I will just say this in response to Councillor Edwards. I guess Sustainable Timber Tasmania or Forestry Tasmania, whatever you want to call them, have communicated to this community that they don't want the land, they don't want to manage it, they don't care about it, and they've been working with the council for however long it's been, months or a couple of years, to palm it off. They don't actually want it. They couldn't care less about it. So this is not saying we're going to take it over from them. It's saying we're going to have a community meeting to discuss all of the costs, all of the risks, and the benefits of moving forward. We're not actually sending any information to Sustainable Timber Tasmania through this meeting. We're having a community meeting, and the council runs on behalf of everyone, because no small community organisation or stakeholder has the power or the capacity to follow through with a plan. Only the council can do that with the community support. So I don't support that amendment to the motion.
Okay, any further speakers for or against the amendment? Do you wish to close the amendment debate, Councillor Edwards?
Sorry, I'm still on. Just that I'm in full support with Sustainable Timbers on board, and I just know that the GM has been working very hard to get them on board and, doing things in that area. And if I can ask a question in this moment, is there a chance that there may be a working group formed if Sustainable Timbers want to work with council and the community?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'd imagine that could be an option. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, the debate's closed on the amendment. I'll call it for a vote. Those in favour of the amendment, please raise your hand. That's in the gallery too. we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And we better have a little.
If you could just pop your hand up really high.
Yeah, yeah. 1, 2, 3.
This is just about the amendment.
Yeah, can you clarify that, please? I don't understand.
This is just the amendment that's on the.
Put the amendment on the screen, please, so that people can see what they're voting on. I don't think we can. No, we can't.
We have a problem with our IT and
I think we're asking for clarity still, aren't we? Before we take the vote. I'm unclear, so I don't want to vote.
well, it could be. Yeah, I'll ask Councillor Edwards whilst the GM is attempting to fix it on the screen. Could Councillor
This
Edwards
is-
read the amendment
Yeah.
in entirety, please?
This is the amendment and what I added to it. That council plan and host a public community meeting prior to December 17th, 2021 regarding a collaborative community council partnership to develop a multi-stage action plan for the Aldina Forest Reserve and picnic area. This is what I added, with the full support of Sustainable Timber Tasmania, providing a concept plan has not been released by that date.
Thank you very much, Councillor Edwards. All clear?
Mayor, can
I think that's pretty clear what was read out. Is there anyone unclear what was just presented by Councillor Edwards? Is there anyone unclear?
Yeah, Mayor, can we just wait till it's up on the screen? The same, I believe the same confusion is held by the people in the gallery as what it is to me. Perhaps we need to clarify that all we are deciding on in this instance is whether the changes which have been flagged by Councillor Edwards, should they be included or not? That's the matter for which we are deciding. It's whether the matters that Councillor Edwards has flagged should be agreed to or not. Subsequent to this, if they are agreed to,
I think it's quite clear, Councillor Fairbrother, the addition that Councillor Edwards read out, with the full support of Sustainable Timbers providing a concept plan, has not been provided. I think we all understand that, don't we? We don't?
No, I think Darren was just trying to explain the process.
Is the intent that the three parties would get together and meet prior to that date in December? I would have thought that the amendment necessitates that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think what it means is that if they don't come out with a plan by that date and show us what their plan is with the land, then council facilitate the meeting. That's my understanding.
Yep, okay. I'll just clarify, we are voting on the additional wording to the motion, which is the amendment. We're voting on that additional wording, and if we don't agree with that additional wording, we return to the original motion. That's the situation at the moment, folks. Okay. I didn't think so simple. It took so much convincing. Eh?
So can I suggest an amendment to the amendment that the words providing a concept plan has not been released by Sustainable Timbers Tasmania by that date? Because that's what you're trying to say, isn't it? Yeah. I think it just needs, the STT have to go, we release, yeah.
Can you accept that, Councillor Edwards? Yes. And the seconder? Yep. Deputy Mayor Dunyam? Okay.
Providing a concept plan has not been released. Concept plan has not been released by STT by that date. Yeah.
Yes.
We don't do that.
Thank you, Mrs. Earl. Okay, all clear? Question from the gallery.
Suppose that we don't get the full support
Yeah.
of sustainability.
Oh, yeah.
Where does that leave?
It's their land, so
How can we guarantee the full support of sustainability?
we have the right to them and ask them.
We can't. We got to negotiate. It'll depend on the negotiations, I guess, and we will only find that out by going down this path.
Setting a deadline for December seems a bit hasty to me.
Well, we've done a lot of the work over the last couple of months. That's what General Manager, through you, Mr Mayor. General Manager was saying we've actually been working on it for the last couple of months to try and get it across the line. So a lot of it's been done, and as the General Manager was saying, there's only a few things that need to be tied up to see what their intent is, so we can decide from there.
Okay, we have the amendment clearly.
To see what they've got for plan, yeah.
Okay, I need to close and put it to the vote. We're all happy with what we understand with regard to what's on the screen and the addition. Okay, I'll ask for a show of hands, those in favour of the amendment. And we'll need to raise them for a while to get a count to get a majority of or either. And we'll put that to the vote. And then we have to put that again, don't we? Yeah. Mrs. Bradley, could you? I didn't hear you. 17 from the gallery. Okay. Plus. Yeah, plus 8 elected members. 25, and staff are allowed to vote. One staff member is a ratepayer. No, okay, 25. Okay, a total of 25. Now those against, please. We'll have another count. Eight against. Okay, I declare the amendment carried. Will now become the motion, and it is open for debate as regard to the motion. Any further speakers in regarding to that amendment becoming the motion? None? You wanting to speak, Councillor Fairbrother?
Yes, Mayor, I haven't spoken to the motion or the amended motion.
I didn't say you had.
No, you were just waiting.
Yeah, I thought your light was on, you're ready to go.
I am.
Okay.
Thank you. I do believe that regardless of this motion, it is the intent of council to consult with the community once we get to that stage. It's just that a number of matters, has already been explained, need to happen before we get to that stage. To suggest and state clearly at an annual general meeting that council rubber stamps stuff is offensive to me, we don't. We scrutinise, as we've done tonight, we discuss matters, ask questions to get the best result. To state To state that we are rubber stampers is just clearly wrong, and I don't support that statement.
So you were speaking for the amended motion, Councillor Fairbrother? Was one or the other?
Yes, that's right. One or the other. I'll be led by other councillors or the public speaking to or for the motion.
Further debate regarding the amended motion. No further debate? I'll
Sorry.
yes.
Yes, the reason I voted against the amendment is that the way it reads is that there's. I feel like we need to meet. We've been waiting a long time about this. We've been wanting to be consulted as community members to be involved, and it's been 5 years. And we want to know that we can set a date, and we're going to meet with you, and we can talk about this, regardless of whether a concept plan is put forward before or after a date. We want to book this meeting in. We want it to happen, and I feel like if this your motion is passed the way it is, it's a little tricky now to have faith in the council that you will meet us. So that's where my concerns lie.
Yeah, well, it is. We have to have sustainable timbers in the room, don't we? So.
Yeah, bring them along. Invite them.
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan. That's the plan in hand. Okay. Any further speakers? No further speakers. Pardon? Kenny? Yeah. Okay. Betty wasn't. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Hutchison, do you wish to close the debate?
Yeah, I can close the debate. I will be supporting the amended motion, but I guess my concern is with that, I guess reiterate what has been said. All we want to do is engage with the meeting. If Sustainable Timber Tasmania wants to come along to that and be part of that, fantastic. Whether or not they will is another question. With this amended motion, there's a risk that the public won't be at the table from the get-go of the redevelopment of the picnic area and the reserve. So I hope for all sakes that council can work through that process and Sustainable Timber Tasmania can produce the goods. But council, all I requested council was to meet at the table, and the fact that an amended motion has been put forward by council, by Councillor Edwards before the actual chance to vote on it at a council meeting, which who knows what councillors will vote on, I think shows a bit of disrespect for the fact that I brought that motion to the table to have a meeting with the council and the community. So I will support this motion because it's I guess the best opportunity we have to be at the table to start with, and I'll ask that everyone support that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the debate closed and ask for a show of hands. Those in favour, please indicate. Yeah. Show of hands. Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Will I go that way? Oh, geez. Twenty-three plus 8 is 31. Declare the motion carried. Okay, we need to count the noes now, please. I didn't realise that. Could you please indicate to those that don't vote to support the motion? Have we? Okay. It's not. It's not a factor. Okay. Done. Motion's carried. Thank you. We move on now to item 8.2. Mrs. Raw, the Dog Management Policy Review Proposed Working Group. The motion there on page 8. Mrs. Raw, here she comes. Would you formally like to move that motion, please?
Yes, I'd like to formally move that motion.
Thank you.
Do you need me to read it out or?
No, I think, sorry. I think it's there for everyone to read. Those in the gallery that haven't got an agenda, probably yes. Yes, please.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay. So my motion is that the Waratah Wynyard Council form a working group to include Mooka DR representatives to review the dog management policy for May 2022 approval. We want you to ensure that the first meeting of the group be no later than January 2022 and have a major goal of the working group to explore shared usage of the East Wynyard Beach as a peripheral edge to the penguin colony and a reinstated dogs off leash walking area.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder for Mrs. Raw's motion, please? Your name, please, sir? Chris Martin? Marmy. Chris Marmy. Thank you. Continue with supporting your motion, Mrs. Raw, please.
So as part of the dog management policy finalised at the end of 2019, the Waratah Wynyard Council decided to ban dogs on the East Wynyard Seabrook Beach. That area is from about the driveway of the Seabrook Golf Club right through to the point that's just before Bruce's, the cafe. Separate to the main area, the red area that has always been a dogs off leash or dogs banned area in front of Doctor's Rocks. So there was a consultation process, but our group, the Mooka DR, actually accidentally missed that process. We don't know why we missed it. We're a big group of people, about 20 people in that group. The group name means the multiple use of conservation areas around Doctor's Rocks. Yep. We believe very much that it can be a multiple use area. So when Mooka realised that the beach was to be closed, we came to the council and talked about our concern for that because there were so many people that use that area and walk their dogs off leash, and we felt that we needed to be consulted on that. So the council told us that we needed to go to Parks and Wildlife and that they were the people that made the decision on that beach. So our group did go to Parks and Wildlife and we had quite a few meetings with them, 3 or 4 meetings here at the council, and we actually came up with, it was a compromise. It wasn't exactly what we wanted, but as a group we talked about, well, this needs to be a win-win situation. We need to have both groups happy. So we formally agreed verbally with the Parks and Wildlife that that we would have that compromise and still be able to use that beach, although a bit restricted. So we were waiting for that to happen or to be put in place, and we were very surprised that the council decided not to honour the agreement that we'd actually talked to the Parks and Wildlife about, even though the council had suggested that it was Parks and Wildlife that make that decision. So Mooka DR feels that we've been users of that beach for decades with our dogs. We don't know why we missed the whole process that was there and out for people to be part of, but we did, a big group of us did. But we want to be and need to be involved in the dog management policy review now that's going to come up in May 2020. So that's why we have the motion. We're requesting that we can be part of that review to put our, or to be in that group and talk with the group about our stance on making this a win-win position.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, was the policy due for review May 2022 as opposed to May 2020? I think it might have been just a slip.
That's right. Okay, any further speakers regarding the motion? Yes, Mr. Marwick. You're on, Chris.
Yes, I spoke to the council in the June meeting. I just wanted to point out that the people of Doctor's Rocks don't have anywhere to go. Once the beach is closed, and they look after the penguins just as much as the other groups do, and we feel that it should be open so that we've been using it since at least the early 1990s, when it was made a dog walking beach in the beginning, and so the penguins have been living there. You know, it isn't just a recent thing where they've been there, and we've been sharing it and looking after the penguins. So we feel that it's unnecessary to stop people walking their dogs on that beach, because you know, it's not going to stop the stray dogs, and that's where we would like to be a part of the plan, you know, going forward, to see what we can do to solve that problem. But we feel that it's not necessary to close the beach to people walking their dogs responsibly.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Courtney.
Yeah, I'd just like to note that the comment by the council officer is that we actually do support this motion, because we are looking at reviewing the dog management policy early next year anyway, so that the working group is supported. So I think it's clear that council officers are obviously giving support for this motion, so we would read through it, and I would take their recommendation at this stage. We're going to be reviewing the policy anyway, so it's a good idea for us to have a working group. So I think that makes it easy for us to all make a decision on that one.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Councillor Fairbrother, you wish to speak?
Yeah, Mayor, I think it just needs a little bit of clarification as well. I support the motion. Council wasn't able to accept the revised suggestion from Parks and Wildlife after they changed their position after the public consultation. As for council to do that, we would have had to have put the policy out again for community consultation, which would have meant that the dog policy, or the application of the new dog policy in the new dog areas, would go well into the new year, which would have compromised all the other areas within the municipality. So we took it on the chin, and are well aware of the new negotiated position between MUCHA and MUCA and Parks. So once that policy comes up for review again, I'm sure it would have been changed to reflect both the community view and MUCA's view. So I support the motion.
Any further speakers regarding the motion?
I'm going to support the motion,
Councillor Edwards.
as it said, but the major goal in this is that, you know, a good, strong working group is formed for it. So, and on all sides.
Yep. Okay. Any further speakers? If not, there hasn't been anyone speak against the motion, so I feel it's not necessary to close the debate. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please indicate. I think it's a clear majority, I think, Mrs. Bradley. Thank you. I declare the motion carried. Thanks for your assistance. Okay, 8.3, Mrs. Raw, your dog management policy review. Would you like to formally put that motion, please?
Yes, the motion is that the Waratah Wynyard Council reinstate that dogs can be walked off leash between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m, those times perhaps to be negotiated, on the East Wynyard Seabrook Beach.
Yep, thank you. Do we have a seconder for Mrs. Raw's motion? Chris? Okay, thank you. Seconded, Chris. Okay, you begin to tell us all about it.
Yeah, look, the group that formed, we definitely, we want to be a win-win group. This is not penguins against dogs in any way or form. And what we're talking about is that the area can be used safely for both groups. As a group of people that take their dogs to the beach daily to walk, we love dogs, but also we love animals and we love penguins. And to hear that a rogue dog has got into the red area where no dogs are allowed at all and killed great numbers of penguins is just as disturbing to us as it is to people that support penguins totally. So that's why we're putting this forward with a time where we feel that we could be on the beach, coexist with the penguins and not be a problem. So the dog walking by responsible owners on the East Wynyard Seabrook Beach does not interfere with the penguin colony at all that's in the restricted area. We've been walking our dogs off leash in that area for many, many decades, and the penguin colony has been protected around the corner, that's the red area, and we support that. Over time there have been attacks on the penguin colony at night, but that's by rogue dogs, it's not by our dogs. We're the type of people that go to the beach with our dog on a leash, let it off when we're happy that they can run free, and then collect it and put it in the car and take it home. We're not the sort of people that open our doors at night and let dogs out and not look after them. We would be highly stressed as a group of people if we let our dog out and it escaped and we didn't know where it was. And the attacks that have occurred on the penguin colony have occurred at least 700 metres away from the edge of our dogs off leash area, and they're not by our dogs, as I just mentioned. So, and despite the attacks, which are really unfortunate, the penguin colony is currently thriving, and that's what's causing the problem. The penguins are moving west, and Parks and Wildlife, when we talked to them, actually only counted around 25 to 30 penguin burrows that are from the area that they've that we've been prohibited from. We don't cross over with the penguins. They leave their burrows at dawn and they return after dusk, and we use the space in between. There have been no dog attacks on the penguins in the off-leash area that we've used. So we see in many ways that we can coexist. We're not a problem to each other in that current area. And we fully believe that we can coexist together and we can have our exercise with our dogs. Our dogs will be happy, we'll be happy, we'll be fit and healthy, and it'll be a great way of life. So.
Thank you. Any further speakers regarding the motion? No. Councillor Bradley. Oh, yeah, okay. Councillor Bradley.
I just had a thought, maybe because along the red area there's a fence separating the penguins from the highway, is there any way that we could put a fence from their fence down to the water line so that the dogs will not go encroach on that area? Do you know what I mean? Sort of a safety fence or a safety barrier, so that it separates them.
Yep.
So that they don't go into that area.
Seabrook Creek actually separates the area.
Yes, but can we put a temporary fence down there to stop?
Sorry to do a point of order.
I guess we could.
I'm really sorry.
I guess we could attend to that in the when we're doing the review.
Yeah, I was just going to say, point of order,
Yep.
that'd be in the review.
Yep.
Not
Thank you. Thanks for the thought, but we'll thank you. Okay, any Councillor Fairbrother?
Mayor, I wish to move an amendment to the motion, and the amendment is to the first part of the motion, that as a part of the review of the dog management policy, Council consider reinstating that is again the words inserted at the start of the recommendation to be included, the words as a part of the review of the dog management policy. That'll do. Council consider reinstating and the rest of the motion.
Yeah. Just you completed there, Councillor Fairbrother? Okay, I just asked Mrs. Raw and Chris, I forgot Mummy, would you be happy to have that added to your motion? Okay, and we're happy to have that included in your motion, and we won't go through the process of an amendment. Okay, thank you. So all sweet there. We continue with the debate. Anyone else wish to contribute? Councillor Courtney.
No, I think Councillor Fairbrother has addressed my concerns there. I didn't want to do it independent of the review. So I think with the working group as part of the review, this is a better idea, and it sort of saves us a lot on that administrative side, and we can do it more collaboratively. So I think that addresses any concerns I had with the motion, and I'm happy to support it.
Okay. We abolish the amendment as far as the procedure goes, and we continue with the motion that we have. Okay? Anything further? Anyone else wish to speak? There's been no one speak against the motion, so I guess I can put the motion. All in favour, please indicate. Thank you. I declare the majority rules. Motion is passed. Okay. How are we travelling, Mr. GM? Public questions and statements. Before I go to there, the Council encourages community participation in its meetings through the opportunity for public questions and statements. Consistent with Council's core values, councillors and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with courtesy, fairness, dignity and respect. We expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in their dealings with Council. As the Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain orderly conduct of council meetings and determine whether a question or statement is out of order due to the offensive or objectionable expressions. I know members of the public will show consideration and courtesy in their comments. Thank you. Now I'll ask for public questions without notice. Does anyone in the gallery wish to ask a question? No?
Will council continue to have no fees at the transfer station?
I'd just like you to introduce yourself, please, sir. I don't really know you, and if you could identify yourself, and then would you like to come up to the mic, please, and we'll all hear you then. Thanks.
Particularly concerning the environment, I'm wondering, and what a good move it is that council doesn't have fees anymore for the transfer station. Will that continue? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. GM, you could answer that. I got an idea, but you might go first, please.
Through Mr. Mayor, I guess at this point in time, it's just set each year as part of the adoption of the annual fees and charges. So council hasn't made a decision in that regard broader than on a financial year-by-year basis. I'm sure that discussion will come up as part of setting next year's budget after 2 years having these arrangements in place. But currently, it's assessed every year as part of the setting of the budget and the fees.
Thanks, Mr. GM. That's just the lines I thought it was going to take. Okay, any further questions without notice? No, from the public?
Mayor, I've got a question. Am I a member of the public or am I a councillor?
I reckon you're a councillor.
So I can't ask a question.
In answer to that question, I reckon you're a councillor, but if you want to ask a question, you can go now.
Well,
over to you, Councillor Fairbrother.
I'm Darren Fairbrother. I was only going to ask the question, could it be stated in response to Mr. Taylor that there is a state government levy of $20 next year to be applied to our waste services as council? That apparently is already, we haven't received it yet, but it has been flagged for, is it $20 levy for each tonne of waste to go on council's charges, and that's already, even though it hasn't been applied, it's already been flagged to go up to $60 year after year after year perhaps, and it's an additional cost. Council is trying to apportion our
Councillor Fairbrother, this is a question time. I think you're making a statement there about...
well, I'm trying to ask the question, can he be advised that state government are introducing a levy, and can Mr. Taylor be advised that council are trying to apportion full cost attribution to the services that we have? Waste is a cost to council, so we need to find more money to pay for the services. So I think that's perhaps a fairer response to his question. If he could, message could be relayed to Mr. Taylor. That is my question. Thank you.
I reckon he heard about it. Thank you. I didn't mean to be funny, but I understand what you've done. Thank you very much. Okay, any further questions without notice? Public question? Yes. Yes. Me. Thank you very much for that information. Okay, any further questions from the gallery or council members? If not, we'll move on to public statements without notice. Any statements to be made from the public gallery without notice? Okay, nil. It brings us to a closure, and it is about 6:58. I declare the meeting closed, and I thank everyone for their attendance and their input tonight. Thank you very much.